guys, finally not a Fortnite video or anything. It's just me. So we haven't done day vlog for a long time, but not much has happened since the last one, of course. But I figured we had enough stuff to go over since then. So first off, we have two reviews that are again very outdated because except for like some things, I don't do my reviews on whole separate videos, so then they kind of just get put out whenever my next day vlog gets put out. One of them is The Punisher Season 2, and one of them is The Lego Movie 2, which I don't even know if The Lego Movie 2 is still in theaters. It went into theaters like early February, and it's like mid-March now. So we're gonna do one on those anyway. Like the last movie review or show review or whatever, we're not gonna have paper or anything. I'm just gonna for Daredevil Season 2 or Season 3 we did it like this. But yeah, so first off, for The Punisher Season 2, so you guys know, I would probably without a doubt, my favorite Marvel Netflix TV show series so far was The Punisher Season 1. I absolutely love that so much. I wasn't even planning on watching it, but I did. But yeah, so Season 2 finally came out. I heard that they were teasing it, but then like I forgot about it, and then it turns out the next time I heard about it, it was going on Netflix like a couple more days, so I got really hyped up for that. And as usual, I watched all 13 episodes, which is 13 hours in all. Probably in, I think, about 2 or 3 days. Basically, it just carries on, from after that. He's pretty much, like, retired, pretty much, and, like, he's visiting this bar and meets this woman, and starts a relationship with her and everything, but then all of a sudden, he, like, goes back to the bar, and then there's this like teenage girl that's getting attacked by this like whole mafia thing, and so he saves her and pretty much gets thrown back into the Punisher. So she's pretty much the new main character. I can't remember her name, but basically in her past she had like pictures and stuff she wasn't supposed to have of this new character that wasn't even in the comics. He was made up for the show, but pretty much the new main villain for the season. His name is John Program. So she's like, he's like chasing her and everything. But overall I really like that because she's pretty much like this season's, Micro from last season, like the main side character. And I actually really liked it because like the whole thing is kind of like a road trip movie between the Punisher and her. And and it was really, really good. And of course we have the returning of Jigsaw or Billy Russo. A lot of people were mad that his face wasn't more messed up, because, I mean, he got it, like, cheese grated by a broken mirror. So I was really excited to see where that went, but basically for, like, the first little while before he does, like, his face reveal, he has, like, this cool, like, mask that he, like, made himself or something to, like, represent his inner feelings. But they said there's less scars on his face so they can focus on the dark personality more than, like, the dark features or whatever. So overall I liked him quite a bit, but overall I don't really know if I liked him as much as in Season 1. I just think in Season 1 he was a lot better of a character. This season that was like good when he was talking to his like psychiatrist or whatever, and then they like start a relationship, and it kind of becomes like a Joker and Harley Quinn type thing between them, and then in the end she's like always scared about getting thrown out of a window like she did in her past, and that's how she ends up, but I thought she was dead for sure, but she wasn't. If they do continue this series on the Disney thing, whatever, I don't know if they're going to bring her back or whatever, because when she was laying in bed all stick together and everything, and Madani was visiting her and saying that Billy Russo is probably dead, she pretty much seemed like she was going to be a big villain as well, but so overall, I would say, like, Billy Russo or Jigsaw's death was kind of underwhelming, because, like, there's, like, a big old showdown between him and the Punisher, and then there's a couple showdowns on this season. Like the city chase, where, like, the ambulance goes off the bridge, and then he comes out with, like, the double drum machine gun thing on him. And that scene was probably the most, like, chill down your spine scene. Like, it was just awesome because Punisher was disguised as one of Billy's, like, men that was helping him out with a heist. And he had, like, a devil mask on, a military coat. But then he just, like, walked down the street and yelled Billy, or Russo, and then he just, like, opened his jacket, and then there was a Punisher logo, and took off his mask, and then Billy's like just went all completely dazed. Yeah, so. But then the final battle between like Punisher and John Pilgrim was really awesome. It was very gritty and everything. Yeah, and also Curtis was a lot bigger of a character in this. I think that was really good. He was kind of like Punisher's sidekick, which is awesome. Yeah, so overall, I think it was really, really good. Again, like the first season, there was not a single moment when I didn't get bored, or there was not a single minute that I did get bored. I was entertained throughout the whole thing. I think the fight scenes were awesome. Pretty much all the characters were awesome. I was very surprised because I did not mention Micro once throughout the whole entire season. I thought he was gonna maybe show up a couple times, but no. But also, I can't remember her name. Oh yeah, Karen Page. She shows up a couple times, or like through this one episode. She's a pretty big character and helps break Frank get out of like jail, hospital, that type thing. Yeah, so the bad thing is right after the season got done, I was really excited for a third season. Of course, Netflix, like they did with Luke Cage and Iron Fist and Daredevil after season 3. About a week after The Punisher went on Netflix, they said that after Jessica Jones season 3, the last of the two, Jessica Jones and The Punisher, would be canceled. Which that really, really sucks because they're saying like it's just going to carry on the Netflix series, but I'm worried they're not going to be the same characters because Karen Page, the actress that plays her, says that that was her last time playing her. So I don't really know where they're going with that, but because also that's like on a Disney thing, because the Marvel Netflix shows are very violent and gritty, and I just don't see they would carry on with that. I just feel like it'd be completely changed. So hopefully not, but the other thing is also you gotta pay for two things, and like we already have Amazon Prime and Netflix, and I don't know if we really want to pay for Disney just for the Netflix Marvel shows. Yeah, also some other things is I really liked like the police station standoff, where like John Pilgrim and all of his people came out of like the forest, and like there was like a whole showdown at the police station, and then also like at the end when John Pilgrim's like his parents or his aunt and uncle or whatever, whoever they were, how like Frank just like gave him an option. He just shot the wife in the head, and then he just like pretty much gave the husband a life or death little deal, and then they just walk out of the house and he shoots himself, and then John Pilgrim and him kind of become allies, and then he gets to go off with his kids. And yeah, so they kind of resolved that whole thing. I thought he was going to be like the next main villain, but yeah, he's pretty much a main villain throughout the season and was resolved by the end. So yeah, so that was pretty much my review for The Punisher Season 2. But that was really, really good, very outdated, but yeah. So next up is for a movie, The Lego Movie 2. I was going to do a whole separate video for this because, as you guys know, for a couple years, the first Lego movie was probably my favorite movie. And it's still, to this day, I would say, is probably my most watched movie. I've watched it so many times. Yeah, so I was pretty darn excited for the second one. It was supposed to come out in like 2015, 2017, but then it got held off till 2018 and then 2019 because the first one came out in 2014. So it's been a while, but basically it just carries off right after the last one, and the Lego Duplos have attacked, and now it's called Apocalypseburg. And everything's just pretty much Mad Max. But I like how they kind of redid that scene with Emmett waking up and greeting everyone, but this time it was like, instead of all happy and like everyone working together, it's all just everyone's grunting and there's sewer babies, and just everything's all Mad Max apocalypse type stuff. Yeah, and then basically I thought Batman was going to be a lot smaller of a character because of course, he had his own standalone movie, but he was also one of the main characters in the first Lego movie. But he was actually a pretty big character in this movie. Like, the main plot point was Queen whatever Wanabe. She's basically like this horse thing that can shapeshift into whatever she wants. She basically wants to marry Batman, and then they're thinking that there's going to be like this whole like doomsday thing with like an exploding giant cake when it happens, and they're thinking like everybody from the Sistar system is evil, like Sweet Mayhem and Queen Whatever and Abby and all of their friends and everything. But it turns out they're truly just trying to get married. Yeah, so this song, this movie's main song, last time it was Everything Is Awesome. This time they actually went into like studying and like getting like right auto-tune to make a song that would like scientifically get stuck in your head. I believe the song's called This Song Will Get Stuck Inside Your Head. Yeah, so that was the main song in here. But the credits were pretty much just as cool as the last one as well. But the one of the main things is like the main villain was not. It was actually like a twist I didn't see coming. Like I didn't think it was gonna be him. I thought he was gonna be like the Batman of this movie. Yeah, I kind of like how they like between Emmett and him they kind of did like a Fight Club type scenario, and then it ends with him like Emmett fixed his counterpart so then he wouldn't ever end up like that. So then they said they can be friends and everything's good, but then he just disappears because he would never exist anyway. Kind of like in Back to the Future. Yeah, so that was really, really cool. I definitely like the main villain. Yeah, so I would say probably just as good as, if not better than Lord Business, honestly. But yeah, also the creativity was pretty much just good. I wouldn't say the jokes were as good. I kind of like the jokes and just the randomness of the first one better. This one, I don't know, there was just a lot more like kiddie jokes. Yeah, I definitely did like the little star and heart that Sweet Mayhem would shoot out in their little baby voices and stuff. Yeah, and also, of course, it's like one of my favorite animation styles that they do, like how you can actually see fingerprints and scratches, and it looks like just stop motion, but it's actually all computer made. Yeah, so I really like that again, and yeah, and pretty much all the characters on the first one return and are pretty big characters in this one. Yeah, so overall, it was pretty darn good. I would say I do like the first one better, but this one was definitely, I think, a good sequel. Yeah, and there actually wasn't like a cliffhanger or anything, no after credit scenes. So I don't know if they're going to be making a third one. I thought they're going to be making a trilogy, but as of right now, I don't see where they would go from here, which is kind of scary, because if they do, that means that it might not end up too well. So yeah, so I think that's pretty much it for my review of that. I also like the character of Rex Dangervist. He was also voiced by Chris Pratt. You know, it was pretty much just a thing about Chris Pratt in Hollywood, because he said that he was like a gunslinger representing his character in the Magnificent Seven remake. And then he was also like a space explorer, referencing his character as Star-Lord in the MCU. And then he was a raptor trainer, and he actually has like raptors working for him and stuff. Those are kind of like his goons. Yeah, kind of referencing his character as Owen in the Jurassic World movies, and some other things. So yeah, so I thought that was kind of cool. Yeah, so overall, I think that was pretty much it for my two reviews. Yeah, so now on to the next part of the day vlog. Alright guys, so next up I think it just makes sense to go from reviews of shows and movies to my updated movie poster wall. So I got a list of everything I've pretty much watched, or anything that I've hung up posters for ever since the last day vlog. And I did take down 2 posters right here, but I already can't remember. Oh yeah, one of them was the Purge election year, because it is my favorite Purge movie. I just don't think it really deserves a poster up here necessarily, and it's not like a good film, you know. It is just fun to watch. And I can't remember what the other one was, but yeah, so first off is Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I finally watched it. Finally came free to Amazon Prime. Like a lot of these movies, there's only a couple of these that just came to Netflix. Most of them are Amazon Prime, but you guys probably all know that. Finally watched it. Yeah, liked that quite a bit. It was very random, but pretty darn funny, and like very low budget while still not being low budget. Yeah, so that was the first one. Next up is in these hard to reach places. Back there is Cool Hand Luke. This was one of the movies recommended back when I was in one of my movie classes. Yeah, watch that. And It's a lot like it's like the original Shawshank Redemption. I think Shawshank Redemption's still a lot better, but like that's still pretty darn good. Definitely a good like prison friendship kind of movie. But yeah. So then Bird Box. You guys probably all know this. The meme and challenge has kind of died off by now, but yeah, I actually kind of liked it. A lot of people, and I will kind of agree on some points of this, but like a lot of people say it was like just a generic kind of horror survival movie, but I don't know. I think it was a little more creative and unique, but of course it was kind of copying can't find the poster, but A Quiet Place. It was a lot like that. It was basically like A Quiet Place, but instead of not talking, you just can't like open your eyes or whatever. But yeah, so poster for that is back there. So yeah, so definitely I don't usually like Sandra Bullock, but she was good in that movie, I think. But yeah, so next up is Beautiful Boy. So this is an Amazon Prime movie that I was waiting for actually a couple months before it came out. But yeah, so it has Steve Carell, because Steve Carell's really been getting into the movie business, mainly with Amazon original movies lately, but yeah, it's basically about a movie where his like son keeps on getting back and back into his addiction with drugs and stuff, and it's pretty frustrating just how much he gets right back into it. But yeah, so that was pretty darn good. And when it ended, I thought he finally died in an overdose, but somehow he still lives, so he got very lucky. Believe it's based on a true story as well. Next up is one of the most controversial and inappropriate films of all time, A Clockwork Orange. I have been waiting for this movie to become free forever. I'm so happy it finally did. But yeah, I watched it. It's pretty darn creepy, just how everything looks and kind of the futuristic look of it or whatever. But yeah, it's directed by Stanley Kubrick. If you guys know him, you guys know he makes like controversial or slow burn kind of ambient films. But yeah, so pretty it was like modified and stuff, because like if it wasn't modified it wouldn't have ever even been released. But yeah, so very happy I finally got to watch that. It was pretty darn creepy and disturbing, but definitely a good film as well. Plus, if you can just find it offensive, but if you actually like think about what it's saying, then it's not as much. Next up is Brazil, directed by one of the guys that is like part of the Monty Python crew, Terry Gilliam. I believe it's somewhere around here. Oh yeah, there it is. Right back there. So yeah, so it's basically just like a futuristic movie where this guy is like not satisfied with his jobs, and he moves, and he has like this, he's like trying to find this girl that's in his dreams or whatever, and then it's like this weird, he's like battles the samurai in his weird little dream sequences or whatever, and then all of a sudden at the end it turns out that it was like all a dream sequence inside a dream sequence, so it's kind of like the original Inception almost. But yeah, so that's also pretty good. Next up is Annihilation, which is right there. So my film teacher, Mr. Wiles, was very interested in that when like the trailers came out with like the deers with like the rainbow antlers or whatever. But yeah, so at first I wasn't gonna hang up a poster for it because I just thought it was pretty slow and I didn't really get what it was going for, and it was kind of just generic, and the CGI actually was not as good as I thought it was going to be. But then all of a sudden at the end, like the twist at the end, and he was just like, "Are you really her?" Or she was just like, "Are you really him?" to her husband, and then she was just like, "But are you really her?" And yeah, that little twist at the end, and just what it's all about once you figure it out in the end. I thought it was pretty much enough right there to hang up a poster for. Next up is The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Actually watched this a while ago. My dad was just randomly watching it, so I just sat down and watched it. So yeah, so the Coen brothers, Joel and Ethan Coen, you guys know I usually love them. I've watched like almost every one of their movies. But yeah, so it's like a Netflix movie, but it did, I believe, won an Oscar. It was nominated for a few. But I mainly enjoyed the first. It's like a whole bunch of different little stories, but I definitely enjoyed the first one the best. But yeah, so that first little sequence was just like, I just love, like, I can't remember that actor's name, but like how he's just like always joking around, but yet he was just so awesome and just like handled everything. Yeah, he was a really, really awesome movie character. But yeah, the rest of the stories were good. Towards the end, it starts getting pretty boring, and like the last few stories, I wasn't a huge fan of, but the first half was really, really good, I think. Next up is Breathe. Believe somewhere down here. So yeah, so that came out, I believe, in 2017 right there as Andrew Garfield, but it's actually a true story based on how, like, the, power chair, or whatever they're called, for, people who can't walk or whatever, were kind of invented and everything by his friend. But yeah, it's basically just a person who, of course, back in the times when polio was, largely out there still, he was just pretty much normal, and then all of a sudden during, like, a game of tennis, he just, like, came down with polio all of a sudden. But yeah, so it was honestly one of the most sad movies I've ever seen, especially, like, because you guys know, the same thing with, Million Dollar Baby and everything, and it's just, like, after, like, how one of my uncles kind of went out by, alcohol, and then we just had to, like, let him go off of his life support and stuff. But then also just, like, how at the end they kind of just had to put him down, eventually once his life support couldn't keep him up anymore on the Breathe movie. It was kind of like how Taco recently had to go out, a couple months ago, but, yeah, so it was pretty darn hard watching movies like that nowadays. But yeah, so definitely very sad, but also at the same time it was really good, and some of them, it was just like a really fun, like, awesome movie to watch. So yeah, so definitely recommend that one. That one was really, really good. Next one is, of course, Lego Movie 2, the second part. So right here, I just used to have the poster for the Lego Movie, that same poster right there. But now I just made one of my little collages with both of the main posters for the first two movies like I usually do. Next up is, you guys know, the director, like the new and upcoming director that I really love. First two movies were La La Land and Whiplash, like pretty much almost my favorite movie of both of those years that they came out. La La Land, I mean, both of these movies are like in my top 15. But yeah, I just love those two movies, so I was really excited. Of course, we live in Great Falls, so half these movies don't come to our theaters. That was the same case, or I believe it came to our theater for like a week. Yeah, so, believe that is over here somewhere. No. No. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find this one. Yeah, so, can't find it. But, I don't know where I hung this one up, but, yeah, so basically this was a movie about Neil Armstrong, yeah, I've been wanting to watch it for a while, so pretty much right when it came out available to rent, I rented it right away, and, yeah, we watched it, and it was nominated for a few Oscars. I believe it won the one for Best, Visual Effects, which I was hoping or there's a few, it's kind of hard to choose, but I was kind of hoping it would at the same time, because towards the end when they actually make it to the moon, it was, like, crazy. Like, we don't even have a 4K TV, and it looked just amazing, and it's like, it looked like you were actually on the moon. But yeah, so it just looked like so good. Yeah, so definitely really liked the movie. It was somewhat long, but overall just pretty darn enjoyable, all together. But yeah, so that is that. Let me see if I can find the poster real quick. Alright guys, so I was thinking about it, and I don't remember hanging it up. Turns out it was just sitting right here the whole entire time. So yeah, so I just hung that up. Yeah, so now there is the movie poster right there. So definitely a pretty darn cool movie poster, but yeah. Ryan Gosling, I mean, he did look like Neil Armstrong, and there were some things in there like I didn't even know. I did not know that like 2 or 3 of the people that were originally supposed to go up to the moon just got trapped in one of the training things and burned to death. So that was pretty darn crazy. But yeah, so definitely a very good film right there. I would say out of the 3 movies that Damien Chazelle's made so far, probably my least favorite one, just because I don't really know. It's just like, I mean, that was still an amazing film, but it's just not still as good as these two, I think. Yeah, so next up is Last Flag Flying, another Amazon original film. It is back there. It's got, again, Steve Carell, Lawrence Fishburne, and Bryan Cranston. Yeah, so I saw it on Amazon Prime for a while, but my mom and dad watched it, and then they recommended it to me. And they told me, like, what it was about. Yeah, I'm actually really happy I did watch that, because I really like movies like that where it's just, like, friends, like, going on an adventure or whatever like that, and it's kind of like that, but, yeah, so it's just weird, because whenever Steve Carell laughs, I can't stop thinking about him as, Michael in The Office. Yeah, so, but overall, that was pretty darn good, and sad towards the end and everything. And then next up is, again, another very iconic film, The Blues Brothers. Finally watched it. Yeah. So, definitely a very, very good film. It was pretty random, but it was really funny, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. It's got John Belushi, Dan Aykroyd, The Blues Brothers. You probably all know that. Yeah, so watched that about a week ago or so. So next up is a movie that I had never heard of, but then my mom showed me the trailer and said that she was about halfway done with it and she was watching it, so I decided to watch it. It's Don't Worry, He Won't Get Far on Foot. It actually has Rooney Mara, Jack Black. Haven't really seen much from him lately. Joaquin Phoenix, and Jonah Hill. Which honestly, that was probably my favorite Jonah Hill performance of all time. Like, I really loved him in War Dogs, and some other movies, but like, yeah, I don't know. Like, this one, he was just like the most ground down to earth and just like a good movie character, I think. But yeah, so Jonah Hill, I was very, very good in that movie, which is surprising because it's just like I think it went into a few theaters, definitely not ours, but yeah, it was just like a small budget, like small movie, and he like gave his best performance yet. But yeah, so it's based on a true story about like a cartoonist that got in a car accident with Jack Black's character after like getting drunk and going to multiple parties. Jack Black's character got to walk away like completely fine, but then he is in a wheelchair with like pretty much anything below his neck almost completely disabled. His arms can work, but how he has to draw is pretty much hold the pencil between his two palms and kind of draw like that. So yeah, but yeah, that was pretty darn good. I would definitely recommend that. And then also Ex Machina and The Lobster. You guys know I used to have posters up for these, but I decided to hang posters up for them again. I just think they're unique and good enough films that they do deserve posters, so I hung posters up back for them right there. And then last but not least, The Pianist right there. I've been wanting to watch that for quite a while. I missed out on it when it was like on some other movie service a while ago, but I finally watched it when it came to Netflix. This was actually my most recent watch film, I think. I like just watched it a couple days ago. Yeah, for the longest time I thought it was a Best Picture winner. I just figured out a couple days ago that it wasn't. Yeah, so it was nominated for Best Picture and a few other Oscars. I don't know if I can't remember if it won any, but yeah, so definitely it was a lot more like graphic than I thought, but I mean it's also a Holocaust film, so you kind of expect that, but yeah, that was very, very good. It was like 2.5 hours. I thought I was going to be bored quite a bit, but I surprisingly, like, there was not really any time where I got bored or anything. Like, it was a slow burn, but like it just didn't feel like it, and I enjoyed that movie pretty much all the way through. And then also I just really loved how like at the end, like, he finally gets caught by one of the Nazis, so while he's sneaking around through the Warsaw ghetto, and then the one Nazi that finally catches him while he's trying to open his little jar of food or whatever, he just happens to luckily be one of the very few good Nazis, like secretly trying to help the Jewish people and everything, and he just like for the next couple weeks like just brings him up food and gives him his jacket in the end. Like, he leaves, and then they figured out eventually that he actually got captured and like died in a Soviet prisoner of war camp. Yeah, so don't really know what else happened to the main character's like family. They never really talked about them. I don't know if they made it back out of the encampments or whatever. But yeah, so definitely that Nazi at the end was pretty darn cool. Yeah, just pretty darn good film. It's on Netflix right now, so I definitely recommend watching that. But that is finally it for my update movie poster wall. So next up, real quick, yes, I still have not hung that up. Still trying to decide like a place officially to hang up. Yeah, so by next day vlog, that should be hung up. So also, I can't remember if I showed this, but my next two short films, this one has already been posted, so if you haven't watched it, definitely go watch Night Strider. One of my shortest short films, but this one's supposed to be like twice the length, because it's a way bigger one. Yeah, so that's supposed to be coming out. I was planning like late March, but it's probably gonna be like early to mid-April. That's just gonna be coming out, because I got a lot of it edited, but I still have some filming to do, and then editing, and then putting it all together and everything. Yeah, so definitely look out for that, but that's like my updated short film wall or whatever. And then next up is another drawing that I've made, of course, for The Punisher. Finally made like his own drawing, So yes, I always freehand all of my stuff, and I was very surprised, like my dad didn't even think that I did that curve by myself. But yeah, I'm honestly still kind of surprised that I managed to do that. But yeah, so the little curve in the Punisher right there is just perfect. I don't know how I did that. But yeah, so I just drew like the Netflix Marvel Punisher logo, and then there's just the little the right there, and then Punisher with like all the grubby kind of look. And then I outlined the cool Punisher shredded skull, and I actually mixed some of the black smear with the red smear in there, just to give it a little more pop out than the Punisher. And then down here, this was like one of my most symmetrical drawings I've ever made. So down here, to make it more symmetrical, I put my signature right, or my little drawing signature right there. And then I put like a 5.52 bullet in there, and then like two 12-gauge shotgun shells, and then two 9mm on the ends there. And then I just put like some of my favorite guns. Of course, you got the AR-50. I got like the two like long rifles, and then like the two kind of medium-sized, not rifles, but like an SMG and a shotgun, and then my two pistols. So yeah, so I got an AR-15 right there. On the other side, I got an FN Scar. And then right under that, I just got like a sawed-off shotgun, because in the Season 2, that was actually a big part, that little sawed-off shotgun that he stole from the one guy and used for like the rest of the season. Now on the other side, I got a Chris Vector. And under that, I got my favorite gun in real life, the Desert Eagle 50 Action Express. And then on the other side, I got a .45 Magnum revolver. So yeah, so I just think that's really cool. Really cool Punisher drawing there. So yeah. So now for my updated movie collection, you can see it's grown a little bit. Yeah, so I believe all three of them are right there. Yeah, so all three of my new movies, or no, all three of them except for one are right here actually. So we will just do these three first and sort of right next to each other. So yeah, so first off is Skyscraper. The reason I didn't put this on the thumbnail is just because it's like, I don't know, I just got it. I didn't actually buy this one, and no, I didn't go to like Target and just like, I'm gonna steal Skyscraper. My grandma actually, she said that she really liked it, and she brought it over to us. I thought to just borrow it to watch it, and we watched it, and then my dad was just like, here you go, and then I guess my grandma just gave it to me since I collect movies and stuff. Because she's like me, half the time I'd rather just buy movies, because, I mean, you get to keep them forever. I don't just like buy any movie I want to rent, just movies I really know I'm going to like. I'll just buy a lot of times, because then if I really like them, I don't have to just rent them and then go buy them. I can just buy them and have them. Yeah, so she's got this. I imagine it was probably cheaper, because this movie was kind of forgotten about. It's one of those just big Dwayne Johnson blockbuster movies that comes out tons of times a year. Yeah, so that's the box, the slipcover. Pretty darn cool slipcover. Dwayne Johnson Skyscraper is embossed. Yeah, so that's that. And then the back right there. Overall, I think the CGI was pretty good, but I mean, there's some parts where it was pretty bad. But overall, very bland storyline, and the villain was horrible. I don't even really remember who was the main villain or not. But yeah, so in the story was just very bland and overused. But overall, just kind of fun movie to watch, I guess. Yeah, so next up is, you guys know I talked about this when I hung up my movie poster. Finally rented this, but yeah, so I did buy it. I was just waiting for it to go off a little bit, but it actually was like $20, and when I went there, it just so happened to be on sale for like $15 or something like that. So yeah, so got it on DVD, but yeah, Black Klansman, or Black Hate Klansman or whatever. But yeah, you guys know I absolutely love this movie, so yeah, I got it. That is the front right there. Black Klansman is embossed right there, and then there is a back right there. So yeah, so it was nominated for a few Oscars, but I already talked about this last day vlog when I was talking about the poster, and it is embossed on the spines right there on both sides on the slipcover, because yeah, that is a slipcover. But yeah, so I just love that movie. So got that. And then last off, also last day vlog, I gave my review for this. But yeah, so I got it about a week after it came out, just because it was like so heavily snowing out there that I couldn't really like walk to Target, and we just didn't really drive because I didn't think it would really be worth it. I could just wait a week. But yeah, so I got this. Sadly, it didn't come with a slipcover or anything. Pretty just plain, but it definitely is some pretty cool art. But yeah, so Bohemian Rhapsody. You guys know I love this movie, and so yeah, so it actually says that the DVD special features it includes a full, complete Live Aid movie performance not seen in theaters. And I know the performance in real life was like 20 minutes. So I don't know if that well, I guess in the movie it was about 10 minutes. So I don't know if it just adds like 10 whole minutes to the movie or what. But yeah, it says it's 135 minutes. I believe it was like 121 minutes in theaters. But yeah, so I don't really know. But yeah, so definitely happy that I got that. So yeah, so let's leave that down there. But then last but not least, you guys know I got Sicario quite a while ago, but I talked about this because I rented it quite a while ago and watched it quite a while ago, and I gave my thoughts on it a couple of day vlogs ago. But yeah, so a while ago I finally got it. I was just waiting for it to go on sale a little bit, and it went from like $20, and then I went there a couple months later, and it was like, I think it was like $12 for Blu-ray plus DVD plus digital HD. So yeah, so you guys know Sicario Day of the Soldado. I was always planning to get both of the movies, and I'm pretty sure they're probably making a trilogy at least. So yeah, so there'll probably be like one more. But you guys know, like, from a actual like film, I kind of like the first one better. But for just like fun to watch while still being a decent film, and just definitely a lot more, I guess, not as like mind torturing or whatever, just like fun to watch, and definitely a lot more. If you like action movies, definitely I did like this one better. But yeah, so also the art cover I think is pretty darn cool. It's got the skeleton with the American flag and the Mexican flag. Yeah, so that's the front cover. And then the back right there. But yeah, so happy that I finally got that. So I'm going to put all these away, and then we'll get on to, I believe, our final thing. Alright guys, so I believe the final thing is, you guys know, like, I don't like buy Lego sets anymore, but except for when there's like a cheap one that comes with some pretty good minifigures. So yeah, so did get this one. So I went to Target, it wasn't there, and I asked the guy like when they would be getting them in, and he said probably the next day, but they still weren't there. For some reason it takes my Target like a week to restock stuff. I don't know why. Usually it takes most stores like a day or two. But yeah, so I got this set. I think it was called like Meeting Queen whatever Wanabe, but yeah, so it is a Lego Movie 2 set. But I mainly just got it because I thought she was going to be the main villain of the film, Sweet Mayhem, but turns out she wasn't. But she is definitely probably the coolest minifigure from the movie, I think. But yeah, so I definitely really wanted her, and this was the cheapest way you could get her. So yeah, so for minifigures, it came with like another Wild Style, which I just put in my extra Legos because it's literally just plain Wild Style, but without the hood. Like, even that Wild Style at least has the hood. So sadly, it wasn't like the new Wild Style with the goggles and everything from the movie. But yeah, so came with this little princess down here. I can't remember her name, but these are my first one of these I got because, of course, they usually come with like the girl Lego sets, like the Lego Friends or whatever, but I guess they're called like mini dolls or whatever. But yeah, so can't remember her name, but she's just like a small part in the movie. Just some random princess or whatever. Then it actually came with Queen whatever Wanabe herself right here, which I built. There's two different options I gave you to build her. I just built her in her like standard horse form, and she has this little spinning platform that she comes with, this cool crown piece. But yeah, so definitely some really weird pieces they built her out of. But then the last one, of course, is Sweet Mayhem. You can take her helmet off. I'll put a picture on the screen right now of her. She comes with this weirdest looking hair piece. Like, it's a standard hair piece, but then, like, they have, like, this ultraviolet kind of mixed in with it. It's just so weird. Because it's just, like, kind of like baby blue, but then towards the top, it kind of, like, goes off and looks, like, oily or whatever. It's really weird. I don't know how they make that with their ABS plastic or whatever, but yeah, so I just put the extra hairpiece right there on a little stud. You can kind of see it from right there, but it's really weird, but that's her without the mask. And yes, I of course have seen the movie, and that's not really any spoiler. Like, she's not really any returning character or anything. That's just her without a mask. But yeah, so that is her right there. I just put her mask on. She's just got these really cool wings. The top ones actually go up and down. You can turn them and take them off or whatever. And her helmet's just really cool, and a little space blaster. But yeah, so definitely really like the colors, and definitely a very cool minifigure. I just put her with like all my other Lego Movie minifigures and Minecraft back there. So yeah, so believe that is pretty much it for this day vlog. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Yeah, so pretty sure that's pretty much it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Finally a day vlog. It's like the first one, like 2 or 3 months. But also we recently reached 1,100 subscribers, so thank you guys so much for that. But yeah, we're already on our way to 2,000. So yeah, so make sure to like, share, and subscribe so we can get there. And yeah, I believe next up should be another Fortnite video, of course, but this time it's just gonna be like kind of like my best trick shots or whatever. It's gonna be called like Fortnite We Hit Those or whatever. But yeah, so there's some pretty darn cool shots in there, honestly. Some of them that I'm surprised I ever hit. But yeah, so I've been working on it for quite a while, so I've just been waiting just in case I hit any more other shots. I wanted to get all the shots that I wanted to try and get before I made the video. So yeah, so that should be the next video. Not too sure quite yet, but yeah, so we'll look out for that. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. So make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Bye!